You ever look at the people we really admire, the geniuses, the heroes, and wonder, were they just born that way? Or is it possible that greatness is something else entirely? Well, in this explainer, we're going to dig into a really powerful idea that the person you want to become isn't about luck or your genes. It's something you actually build day by day.
Okay, so let's jump right in with this incredible story. This quote, it comes from a Hungarian educator named Laszlo Polgar. And this guy built his entire life around this one single, really radical idea. He was convinced that greatness wasn't some accident of birth. Nope, it was a practice. And he was so sure, he decided he was going to prove it to the world.
I mean, that's a pretty bold claim, right? It's one thing to have a theory about raising a genius, but how on earth do you actually design an experiment to prove something like that? Well, this is how he did it. He and his wife homeschooled their 3 daughters with this intense, all-in focus on chess. And the results? They were just stunning. Judith, Susan, and Sophia Polgar became 3 of the most dominant chess players on the planet. This wasn't some miracle. It was a method. And it just powerfully shows the core idea we're talking about. Greatness is something you do, not something you just are.
So this idea, it forces us to completely flip our perspective on what talent and potential even mean. It's about moving away from a fixed mindset to something way more active and, well, alive. And this slide just lays it all out, doesn't it? On the left, you've got the myth. Talent is a gift, something you either have or you don't. And look, that mindset is kind of comforting because it totally lets you off the hook. But then look to the right. That's the reality. It shows that our abilities aren't gifts. They're things we practice, things we construct. It's more demanding, for sure. But it's also so much more empowering because it puts the tools right back in our own hands.
So if we're the ones building ourselves, what's our main tool? Well, the ancient Stoic philosopher Epictetus called it our ruling principle. It's a really simple but profound idea. It's the awareness that you have a conscious, rational mind, and you can choose how to use it. That right there is the starting line for any real, intentional change. And please, don't mistake this for some dusty old academic thing. This is real-world, practical wisdom. General James Mattis famously said his best new ideas came from very old books. And why is that? Because for all our modern technology, the core human struggles are timeless. I mean, the writings of people like Marcus Aurelius are basically 2,000-year-old instruction manuals for being human. Okay, so we've got our main tool, our conscious mind. But where do we actually do the work? Well, the answer is the second key to this whole thing, the present moment. Think of it like the workshop where all the construction happens. It is the absolute foundation for everything else.
Wow, this quote from Anthony DeMello is just so sharp, so clear. We often think we need to let go of the past because of regrets or painful memories, right? But his point is so much deeper. The past has to be dropped, the good and the bad, for one simple reason. It's not alive anymore. Every moment we spend living anywhere but here and now, we are literally missing our actual lives.
To describe this reality, Zen teacher Shunryu Suzuki used this curious phrase, not one and not two. It sounds like a riddle, but it points to a really deep truth. Life is full of these seeming opposites, our mind and our heart, life and death. We can't solve these tensions by just picking a side. The present moment is the only place where we can actually hold both, where they can coexist without a fight.
So what is it that pulls us out of the present moment more than anything else? Marcus Aurelius just nails it right here. It's this bizarre human thing we do where we obsess over what other people think. We just hand over our inner peace to this imaginary court of public opinion, and it yanks us right out of our own reality.
Okay, so we have our tool, our mind. We have our workshop, the present moment. But what happens when the project goes wrong? When we mess up? This next part is all about completely transforming our relationship with failure. Let's look at a really powerful real-world example. The legendary golfer, Tom Watson. Early in his career, he was known for one thing, choking under pressure. He'd get the lead in a major tournament, and then he just couldn't close it out, time and time again. So he went to his mentor, another golf legend, Byron Nelson, who gave him this deceptively simple advice. He said, slow it all down, walk slower, stop thinking about winning or losing, the consequences, and just focus on the very next shot. In other words, come back to the present moment. And here's the kicker. Watson took that advice to heart. The choker completely transformed his career and went on to win 8 major championships. Think about that.
He didn't get a new golf swing. He got a new mindset, built one present moment, one shot at a time. This right here gets to the heart of it. It shows the crucial choice we all face when we fail. On one hand, you can see failure as condemnation, a brick wall, a final verdict that says, this is who I am. But on the other hand, you can see it as information, just a map that says, this is where I am right now. Think about the disciple Peter denying Jesus. That failure wasn't the end of his story. It was the exact piece of information he needed to become who he was meant to be. So what does it actually look like to put all this together in our own lives? To live a life that's actively and even joyfully built, day in and day out.
I want to tell you about Buck O'Neil. He was a star player in the Negro Leagues, but he was denied a shot at the majors just because of the color of his skin. I mean, he had every reason in the world to be bitter. But as this quote shows, he chose a totally different path. He refused to be a victim. For Buck, being cheerful wasn't a weakness. It was an act of profound courage. It was his daily practice.
Okay, but let's get real for a second. Building a good life also requires a serious dose of realism. The artist Austin Kleon puts it perfectly. Work, family, social life. Pick two. The point is, you can't have everything all at once at maximum intensity. Part of the work is making conscious choices and trade-offs about what really matters most to you.
And after all this complex philosophy, sometimes the most profound truth is the simplest. A second grader named Eliana Navarro once wrote this: practice our golden rule. Treat others how we want to be treated. Never be mean. Always be kind. Live with joy in our heart. I mean, isn't that it? She's described with perfect clarity the practice of a lifetime. And this brings us to a really critical takeaway. So many of us wait. We wait until we feel ready to start building the life we actually want. But as the writer Brianna Weiss points out, readiness isn't something you wait for. It's something you create in the act of doing. So here's the bottom line. The person you want to become isn't hiding somewhere off in the future. The materials, the tools, the workshop, they are all right here in this moment. So the only question that really matters, the one this whole journey leads to, is this: what will you choose to build?